and final night of the Canby School Board Candidate Forums, brought to you by the Canby Education Association in partnership with CTV Channel 5, the Canby Area Chamber of Commerce, Bridging Cultures Canby, and the Canby Current. I'm Tyler Franke, and I'm honored to be your moderator tonight. The Canby School District serves thousands of students, providing a foundation of education on which to build their lives. But it's actually even more than that. In many ways, our schools are the heart of our community, representing our past and our hope for the future. Our schools face significant challenges in the years ahead, and decisions made by our local leaders will be critical. The Canby School District is led by a 7-member board of directors made up of elected citizens, volunteers who choose to dedicate their time and talent in service to our district's students, staff, and families. In the May 18th election, 4 of the district's 7 seats will be on the ballot, and all 4 races are contested. That means that in this one election, voters will truly have the chance to help guide the direction of our school district for years to come. The format for this forum tonight is simple. Each candidate will be introduced and will have the chance to answer the same 5 questions. Each candidate will have the same amount of time to answer those questions. Now, one thing to remember is that Canby School Board races are head-to-head, not at large, meaning each candidate is running for a specific position. For example, you may have 2 candidates you really like, but if they're running for the same position, you'll have to pick just one. Because due to scheduling considerations, these forums are happening across multiple nights, viewers will have to pay careful attention to which candidates are running for which position, and we'll do our best to help keep those distinctions clear. We want to assure our viewers that this event is taking place in line with all of the recommended public health guidelines, including asking all participants to wear masks anytime that they are not speaking. Our final rule tonight is that all candidates will be expected to abide by the Canby School Board's civility policy and refrain from any comments that might reflect adversely on the background, character, or motives of their opponent or any other individual. Now, I'd like to introduce our first candidate tonight, Sarah Moggenheimer. She is a current member of the Canby School Board, running for re-election to position 3. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
We're so delighted to have you. As you know, although I will be serving as tonight's moderator, I will not actually be asking the questions because this is a true community forum. We are delighted to be able to welcome some real members of the Canby School District community to quiz tonight's candidates. And our first one that we'd love to welcome up is Sawyer McClarity. Hi, Sawyer.
Hi.
Sawyer is a 7th grade COLA student at Baker Prairie Middle School. He has autism and receives special education services and is also a tag student. Sawyer spends most days working hard to finish his schoolwork so that he can squeeze in enough time to play basketball and do a little coding on the computer.
So, why are you running for re-election? What qualities do you or would you bring to the table? What has been your history or involvement with the district to this point?
Good question. Thank you, Sawyer. Well, first, I just want to acknowledge this has been a really hard year for our families, and it really has given me even a stronger passion to be an advocate for our students and work to collaborate with our community for our district. I really believe we all have a responsibility to serve, and I'm committed to bringing my strengths of character, collaboration, integrity, and experience to really represent our community and our district as a school board director. Some of the qualities that I have, I'm invested in our schools and our community. I grew up here. My 4 kids are the 3rd generation to go through 91 school. My youngest is a kindergartner, and my oldest is heading into Canby High School next year. So we'll be here for a while. Professionally, I've worked with boards across the state, and I think this gives me a unique perspective on the inner workings of a board. I really understand how a board can be both detrimental to a community, but also can really be a catalyst for change, for positivity, and for success, and that's really how I approach my work as a board member. As a federal employee and a trained facilitator, I also have extensive work in federal budgeting, staff, and the policies. And this really aligns well with how the board works at the state level with our state funding and policies, and allowed me to, I think, really jump into the board work a step ahead, and it allowed that to be a familiar space for me. The other thing, as a current board member over the last 4 years as a co-chair. I've been on multiple committees. I'm currently serving on the master planning committee for the bond, and I'm also the representative or the point person for our superintendent search process. This is a really important decision for our district and for our board, and I take this responsibility very seriously. Lastly, I would say I've spent time dedicating time in our schools. I volunteer, I work with our PTO and fundraising. I work really hard to communicate with our families, and I'm also navigating this environment with my own 4 kids. And collectively, I'm really confident that this experience has given me the leadership and the skills that I need to help our district transition to a fully in-person learning model, to transition and support a new superintendent, a bond that we have on the books, and also really look at the needs that our kids are going to have over the course of this next year. Thank you, Sawyer.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sawyer. Our next question asker is going to be Rebecca Wright. Rebecca has been involved with the Canby School District for many years in several different roles. She's had her own 3 kids in Canby schools for the last 18 years, with her youngest graduating this June from Canby High School. Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca also has worked at Karis Elementary for 11 years, 9 of those as a reading specialist and 2 as a registrar. And she's gone back to her career field within the Oregon legislature, working as a legislative assistant for Canby State Representative Christine Drazen.
Hi.
Hi, thank you.
How do you feel the Canby School District should proceed with regard to educating our students during the pandemic, particularly the 21-22 school year?
Yes, good question. Serving as a school board director during a pandemic has certainly come with its challenges, but also its opportunities. I've heard from so many parents and students over the last year and a half, and I really value that input and that feedback as a board member. I know we have families who are ready to return to school 5 days a week in person and families who aren't there yet. And as a board member, I really work to acknowledge and recognize the needs of our entire community, and that's the philosophy I've taken over the last year. My approach to this work is always to listen, learn, and do research in order to be the best advocate I can be for our students. And that's the approach I've taken over the last year, which has allowed me to become well-versed in the ever-changing ODE guidelines, to talk to our superintendents and our superintendent and our principals and our families about how we can best navigate these really challenging times. I've also spent time looking at the state protocols for other states and how they've safely navigated schools and getting children back to in-person learning. As we look to next year, I have 2 primary goals. One, ensuring that we're providing a full-time, 5-day-a-week option for students in all of our schools. Of course, my hope is that ODEs, or the Oregon Department of Education, and the state's requirements allow us to do this under our normal protocols safely. However, I firmly believe that we need to plan for and proactively budget for a plan to have kids in person 5 days a week under our current guidelines in the event that those don't change. Secondly, I'm really committed, and I've been intentionally advocating for us to look at and plan for supporting our students this next year, both academically and emotionally. The reality is the gap of our students over this last year of distance learning has only gotten wider, and we have a responsibility as a board and as a district to lessen that gap and meet our kids where they're at. I'm committed to working with our principals, our parents, and our district staff to identify the budget needs we have in order to get kids back on track academically without sacrificing academic rigor, and also prioritizing their emotional and social needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for being here tonight. Our next community member is Abby Perrin. She is a parent of 2 children and a teacher for the district, and operates a dairy outside of Woodburn. Hi, Abby. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Abby. Thank you for coming.
So, if reelected to the Canby School Board, what would be your budget priorities in allocating general fund dollars for the district's next fiscal year and in the future?
Okay, great. So our general fund dollars are really uncertain at this point, and really primarily dedicated and allocated for funding our staff. Currently, the state has not released the budget for us to look at for this fiscal year. And the other thing that we have to consider as a board is we've lost a significant number of students, and that certainly, and understandably, and that certainly affects our allocation in our budget. And as a board, we have to be mindful of that. We have to recognize that in the planning process. I'm optimistic, though, with other funds outside of the general fund that we've received through the COVID federal relief dollars and also our Student Investment Act funds, which we should receive a higher allocation for this year. Now, with those funds, I think it's critical, again, that we look at the learning gaps that we've seen over this last year. This means addressing loss of learning, really reinvigorating the love of learning for our kids, and providing the emotional supports in a really intentional way. Some examples that we've talked about and that I think are important to focus on will be additional counselors and age, looking at reducing our class size, and also providing additional supports for our SPED and our ELL students. I'm also a really strong advocate for hands-on project-based learning in our career-based courses, and I think there's no better time than now to look at enhancing and adding to those opportunities in our district. That's, I think, really one of the places where students have missed out on over this last year, and I'd really love us to be able to add in some of those pieces. I'm really committed to doing what we can to make this next year something that students can get reinvigorated with learning and get back on track if they need to with school. Secondly, I think we need to budget for planning to have our schools open full time. And as I mentioned, we can proactively plan for both a normal school year with the safety protocols in place, but also a year where we have to follow the same guidelines that we're operating under right now. And we need to understand and plan for how to do that with so that students can be returned to school fully in person 5 days a week. As we continue in the future, additional budget items that I feel are always important for us to focus on are adding school days to the calendar. I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to do that. Reevaluating our class size formula to reduce class sizes. As I mentioned, adding that kind of robust hands-on learning environment with our career opportunities, looking at the other opportunities for SPED and ELL students, and then teacher development I think is really important for us to focus on as we look at raising the bar for our students, and then really our student enrichment enhancement opportunities overall. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Sarah, for that. Our next question asker and community member is Alexia Millara. She is a junior at Canby High School. Hi, Alexia.
Hi.
She's also a member of the Mecca Club, our former member, and volunteers at St. Patrick's Catholic Church and Canby Kiwanis.
Hi, so my question is, if re-elected, how will you ensure the viewpoints of the entire Canby community are represented in educational decisions, especially those of historically undeserved populations, like our Latinx community, which represents nearly
Alexia,
a
why don't you
third,
come a little closer to the mic?
nearly
Sorry.
a third of our district students and families? How will you work to ensure all students feel safe, accepted, regardless of race, color, religion, gender, identity, sexual orientation, ability, or national origin?
Thank you, Alexa. That was a long question, so good.
Yeah.
My approach, as I said, is always to research, listen, and learn in order to be an advocate for our students and our families. I've really worked to seek out feedback from our families and students with experiences different than my own, and I think that's the work that I want to continue to do and grow in. I think that's important for all of us. In order to represent our community to the best of our abilities, having an opportunity to build relationships with our community and our students is really key for me. I'm committed to making decisions at the board level that are inclusive and that address the needs of all of our students. As a school board member, I believe we have a responsibility to provide the resources our district and our staff need to remove barriers and give students all the tools and the experiences that they need to succeed in their education and in their future. I'm going to continue to work to listen and learn and understand the culture of our schools, and I think part of that is being in our schools, which is something I'm really passionate about. My intention as a board member is always to use my experiences to help me make decisions at a board level that improves the academic experience of our students and the educational opportunities that they have. In regards to the second question, as how I will work to ensure that students feel safe and accepted, although I'm not in the classroom every day or managing a school, I really believe that my role as a leader in our district and our community is to be respectful and to reflect my values of meeting all kids where they're at with love, support, and acceptance. This is a standard I'll continue to uphold and model in my work as a board member and in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexia. Thank you, Sarah, for that. Our final question asker tonight is Steph Agar. She is a teacher at Karis Elementary School, has been for the past 16 years in the 5th grade, and she's also the president of the Canby Education Association. Welcome, Steph.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah.
Steph.
In closing, why do you believe Canby School District voters should choose you? Please also feel free to use this time to share any final thoughts about topics that have been discussed tonight.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I'm committed to work for our community during this really very critical time in our district. I believe I have the experience to help us transition back to a full in-person learning model, transition to a new superintendent, identify and address the gaps in education that we're going to see through the next year, and also really provide knowledge to the oversight, implementation, and management of our school bond, which I've been closely involved with. Overall, as a board member, my top priority, and I believe for me the most critical goal for Canby, is to improve our academic achievement. We need to make some progress on our test scores and our overall student success and opportunities. I also think it's really important right now to focus on our community and school relations. And as a parent, we're all frustrated right now. It's a hard time. And I think that we need to take that opportunity to build those relationships. As parents, I think we have spent time with our kids and this last year, and we have a really good perspective of how they learn best, what they need as a student, and that information is valuable as we move forward in the district and make decisions, and I want to really honor that. In closing, I've dedicated time to understand the strengths and the weaknesses and the opportunities of our district, and I want to be part of the solution and part of us moving forward. I want to make a difference for our kids by working to bring our district to a higher level of academic achievement and paving the way for a successful and bright future for them. My personal approach is always to work collaboratively in order to achieve the greater good, and in this case, that's our kids and their future. It's been an honor serving as a school board member for the last 4 years, and I know this has been a hard year, but I also know that advocating for our children is something that we can all agree on and come together on. And I am concerned that the difficulties for our kids in Oregon will continue for the next, into this year and next. And we need to think collectively, creatively, and compassionately about how we can all show our students in Canby that we can come together for their success and their future. I would ask all of us to think about how we can serve. Our kids deserve our best, and I challenge all of us to think about how we can show up for them and support them. I know I can serve as a board member. I know I can do good and positive work for our community, and if reelected, I would continue to work with dedication, compassion, and collaboration for the success of our students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Sarah. Before we let you go, we've been asking all of our candidates here at the end just if there is an email address or a Facebook page or some way that they might be able to get in touch with you, our viewers and voters tonight, to ask you questions that maybe we didn't cover or maybe something that they might want to follow up on from tonight.
Perfect. Yes. So as I said, I really value the information from and questions from the community. So you can always feel free to contact me through my school board email if it's school board business. If it's related specifically to the campaign, I do have a Facebook page, although I'm not a big Facebook user, but it is there and I do try to check it. And it's just Sarah Moggenheimer, Canby School Board. So always feel free to reach out.
And I'm sure no one would have trouble spelling your last name, but it is there at the bottom of the screen for those just in case.
My apologies.
Thank you, Sarah. I want to thank Sarah and all of our community members for a great first round. If you're just joining us tonight, welcome. This is the third and final community forum featuring the 8 candidates for Canby School Board. I'm Tyler Franke. While we switch over to our next candidate, I want to remind viewers that all of tonight's candidates are actually running for different positions. Sarah Moggenheimer, whom you just met, is running for re-election to position 3, and her opponent is Stephanie Smith, who was part of our second forum yesterday. Our next candidate tonight is Sherry Smith, who is running for position 4. Her opponent is Mike Zagafa, who was part of our first forum last week. If you missed either of those forums, you can find the videos by visiting the Canby Currents Facebook page. Spanish language versions are also available on the Facebook page of Bridging Cultures Canby. Welcome, Sherry.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you for
thanks for
having
being
me.
here tonight. Absolutely, we're delighted to have you. As you've seen, our questions tonight are going to be asked by community members, and we'll start by bringing back Sawyer McClarity, 7th grade COLA student at Baker Prairie Middle School. Hi, Sawyer.
Hi. So, why are you running for school board or for re-election? What qualities do you or would you bring to the table? What has been your history or involvement with the district to this point?
Thank you, Sawyer, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight and to speak to our district voters. I have lived in Canby for almost 10 years. We moved here from Hubbard because my husband started his law practice in the downtown area in 2008. And we loved the community, and we not only wanted to work here, but we wanted to live here as well. We have 2 children, a 7th grader and a 4th grader. And throughout their education, we have done it all. We've done public school, private school, charter school, homeschool. We've literally done everything. And I have also volunteered in the schools and the classroom. I've also been on the School Advisory Council at St. John the Apostle in Oregon City, the Budget Committee in North Marion School District, as well as the Budget Committee here in Canby, both as a member and chair. And I'm running for school board because I want to give back to the community and I want to improve our schools. I believe that if I am elected to the board, that I would bring a breadth of knowledge from these school options and experiences to help improve schools here in Canby for our children. Thank you. Thank you, Sawyer.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Sawyer. Thank you, Sherry. Our next community member is Rebecca Wright. We'll welcome her back. She is a parent of 3 children in the Canby School District and also an employee or a past employee of Karis Elementary. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Welcome back.
How do you feel the Canby School District should proceed with regard to educating our students during the pandemic, particularly in the next 2021-22 academic year?
Thank you. That's a very, very good and important question. I believe that the district needs to make a firm decision to open 5 full days, whether parents choose to be, in person with their students or choosing an online program. Our students have suffered far too long, and it's time that we put their academic education, their mental, emotional, and social health first. I also believe that it's going to be extremely important to know where students are at academically, and to teach them at their level, because as we resume in the fall, we're going to see a wide range of competency. Kids also need to continue to be challenged, and I think that the teachers and staff are going to need to make this, one of the utmost priorities as we return into the fall. As we look to the school year opening again, we will have been planning for this full reopen for almost 18 months. And I believe that that is more than enough time to address challenges and obstacles. Should the goalposts continue to move, I think that the district needs to stick with their decision and to face those challenges as they come, but also keep the mindset of, children remaining in the classroom as one of their top priorities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Sherry. Our next community member is Abby Perrin. She's a parent of 2 children and a teacher in the Canby School District. She operates a dairy outside of Woodburn. Didn't bring us any ice cream tonight, but we forgive her.
Not this time.
Okay.
Next time. It's organic. It's pretty good.
Mm.
So if elected to the Canby School Board, what would be your budget priorities in allocating general fund dollars for the district's next fiscal year and in the future?
Well, I would like to see more dollars put into the classroom, whether that be a physical room or online. As a former budget committee member, The sad truth is there's not a whole lot of money left over to prioritize. I would encourage everybody to watch the February 4th budget meeting, where it is shown that 78% of the general fund dollars are allocated to salaries and benefits. 14% is for purchase services, which includes transportation, utilities, and printing costs. As our policy, we also have a 5% reserve for contingency. So as you can see, that's 97% of the budget. And so there's very little room left over that we can prioritize for the district. Where I think the priority needs to be is in the classroom and getting back to the fundamentals of reading, writing, math, and science, especially after this last year. On a side note, though, I would like to see the additional dollars from the Student Success Act work for our students in increasing days and instruction time, as well as dedicated dollars for the TAG program, which currently has $9,500 out of a whopping $55 million. I would also like to see life skills education added to our instruction, as well as preparedness for the trades, for work life, and community involvement once students graduate from high school.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Excuse me. Thank you, Sherry. Our next community member is Alexia Millar. She'll be asking our fourth question. And she is a junior at Canby High School, former member of the Mecca Club, and a volunteer at St. Patrick's and Canby Kiwanis. Hi, Alexia.
Hi, so my question is, if elected, how will you ensure the viewpoints of the entire community, the Canby community, are represented in educational decisions, especially those of historically underserved populations like our Latinx community, which represents nearly a third of our district students and families? How will you work to ensure all students feel safe and accepted regardless of race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, or national origin?
Thank you for that very important question. I have to say that I find it sad and troubling that any group in our community would be underserved. I think that goes to the failure of the system as itself. And that is why I am encouraging all parents, including those in the Latinx community, to get involved and make your voices heard in your child's education. I think it is really important that we include all students' educational needs in our decision making, and that those decisions should not be based on, race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, national origin, or any other identifier. Academics is not about somebody's personal identity or their personal political ideology. And, unfortunately, we've gotten to this point where we're putting people into boxes and identifying them, based on these boxes. And I think that we need to, go back and identify what all of us have in common, and that is we're all human beings. And, I oppose any racism, segregation, or discrimination in our schools. And I think that the best way to make students feel safe and welcome is to go back to the golden rule. As we all know, it's really simple, to treat others as you want to be treated and to love your neighbor as yourself. I also would like to see, virtues being promoted, those things such as hard work, perseverance, responsibility, honesty, compassion, and friendship. And I think that would go a long way in encouraging and supporting healthy relationships among students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexia. Sherry, almost done here. We have one more question asker for you tonight. Steph Agar. She's a teacher at Caris for the past 16 years, president of the Canby Education Association, and has been one of the main organizers of this event and has done a tremendous job. Thank you for all that.
Thank you. Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
In closing, why do you believe Canby School District voters should choose you? Please also feel free to use this time to share any final thoughts about topics that have been discussed tonight.
Thank you. I ask our district voters to support me because we have several problems facing our district which have not been addressed. And I believe that I would bring a new perspective, creativity, and energy to the board to help solve those problems. I want to be an advocate for our parents and the education of their students. I also want to work for the success of all students, no matter where they are and what level they're at. And I will be transparent, open, and honest with parents and guardians so that they can make the best decision for their children and their educational needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Sherry, for being
you.
here tonight. Before we let you go, we'd like to also ask you if there is an email address, Facebook page, any way that voters or viewers can reach out to you, ask you questions that maybe weren't addressed tonight or things that they'd like to follow up on from your comments here tonight.
Yes, so the best way for anybody to reach me is through my Facebook page, which is Sherry Smith for Canby School Board, and I would be happy to respond and get back to them and answer any questions that people have.
Awesome, thank you. So Sherry Smith, we also do have a Stephanie Smith for
Yes,
Canby
yes.
School Board, so try to keep that clear. Again, I want to thank Sherry and
Thank
our
you.
community members for another great round. If you're just joining us, you're watching the third and final community forum featuring all 8 candidates for the Canby School Board. I'm Tyler Franke. While we switch over to our final candidate tonight, I want to remind viewers that all of the candidates that you've seen are actually running for different positions. Sherry Smith, whom you just met, is running for position 4. Her opponent is Mike Zagava, who was part of the first forum that we did last week. Our last candidate tonight is Shelley Vissers, who is running for position 7. Her opponent is the current incumbent in that seat, Angie Dilks, who was part of our second forum yesterday. If you missed either of those forums, you can find the videos by visiting the Canby Currents Facebook page. Spanish language versions of the forums are also available on the Facebook page of Bridging Cultures Canby. Last but not least, hi Shelley,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
As you've seen, you probably got the hang of it by now. We're going to ask you a few questions through some of our community members, and it's going to be welcoming back Sawyer McClarity, who is a 7th grade COLA student at Baker Prairie Middle School. Welcome back, Sawyer. Thank you.
Okay. So, why are you running for school board or for re-election? What qualities do you or would you bring to the table? What has been your history or involvement with the district to this point?
Thank you, Sawyer. I have decided to run for school board in that I was born and raised here. I've been a product of Canby schools, and I believe in our school system, and I want to see our students succeed. Canby used to be a place where people moved to be here for our schools. And I think we've lost a little bit of that priority, and I want that priority to come back. I want Canby schools to be a great place for any student to be, and they to get exceptional education for any student. I have volunteered quite a bit in the schools, and I want to make sure that I'm a voice for the parents in the community. I want the community to come together and come alongside of our teachers to help them and the administrators to bring our schools back up to top priority. I can be that voice for students and parents, I believe, by my involvement with the school, and will always be one that will be open and willing to listen. My qualities that I bring, I think that I'm very approachable. I listen to all sides, and as a board, we're not always going to agree on everything, but I do believe that we have to come to a common goal, which is educating our children. And we may have to compromise on some things, but I believe that's something that we do as a board. I have been in the schools, and I understand the support that's needed. Teachers need help from our community, from our parents, and I think we can come alongside them. I am also a business owner, so I understand a budget, and I understand how to follow it, and how that we need to live within our means. And lastly, I just have a passion to see students succeed. Really, that should be our goal for everything, is the students come first. My involvement in the district is I volunteered 3 to 4 days a week consistently at Karis. not only in the classroom, but also in many different areas of the school. I was involved with student council, helped with that. Myself and another mom helped with the TAG program, and so every Wednesday we would provide a TAG enrichment program for our kids. And then also I served on the CARA Site Council Committee. I was involved in the Student Success Act Committee, and I also attended many board meetings. Thank you, Sawyer.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Sawyer. You did a great job tonight. Thank you, Shelley, for that. Our next question asker is going to be Rebecca Wright. She is a local community member, parent of 3 children in the Canby School District for the last 18 years, and a former employee of Caris Elementary. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. How do you feel the Canby School District should proceed with regard to educating our students during the pandemic, particularly the 21-22 academic school year?
Thank you, Rebecca. 21-22, I think, is going to be a difficult year, and we have kids coming back into school, and I propose that we try and get our kids back 5 days a week, and all schools need to go back 5 days a week. And so we are going to have to meet our kids as to where they are. We're going to have kids that are going to be struggling. We're going to have kids that are on grade level. But and then we're going to have our higher achievers too, and we need to make sure that we are able to meet them and provide the support where they are. We need to create a positive and focused learning environment. I think that is important for kids to be able to learn. It has to be a positive environment. And we need to go back and concentrate on the basics, the reading, writing, math, and make sure that our kids are proficient in that. And as a community, we have to come along and we have to support our teachers and our staff. It is vital for all of us to come together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Great job tonight. Thank you, Shelley. Our third question asker for you is Abby Parent. She is a local parent of 2 and a teacher and operates a dairy outside Woodburn. Hi, Abby.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
If elected to the Canby School Board, what would be your budget priorities in allocating general fund dollars for the district's next fiscal year and in the future?
Thank you. So the budget of Canby Schools, I haven't had a chance to be privileged to a lot of that information. And so I think if I'm elected, I want to be able to review it and see what's going on, as I think that there is a lot of things that maybe we can do. I understand a lot of it goes to salaries and all of that. But general fund is pretty much already allocated, I feel like. And so we're going to have the challenges because of COVID, where we're going to have lost a lot of students, and we're going to have some budget challenges. And I think that we need to look at using the money from the federal COVID relief and also the Student Success Act. And the most important thing is to get the money down to the classroom, to the kids, because the kids are the ones that we are there for, and the kids are the ones that we need to benefit. And so I think that is vital, that we get as much money down to their mental health, to their academics as possible.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Shelley. I'd like to welcome back our next community member, Alexia Malara. She's a junior at Canby High School and a local volunteer. Hi, Alexia.
Hi. So my question is, if elected, how will you ensure the viewpoints of the entire community are represented in educational decisions, especially those of historically undeserved populations like our Latinx community, which represents nearly a third of our district students and families? And how will you work to ensure all students feel safe and accepted regardless of race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, or national origin?
Thank you. That is going to be a priority. So the job of the school board is to make sure that every child is educated to the best of our ability, and to make sure that every place that they come into is safe for them. No child should ever feel unsafe at a school, and our job is to make them safe. We as a board should have to follow the policy and require our teachers and our staff to make every student feel welcome, no matter what their religion, what their ideas, or any of that is. And so I think it's very important that we have open communication with all groups, All groups need to come to the table, and we need to listen, and we need to make sure that everyone's involved, because everyone has a different experience, and everyone can bring something to the table. And so I think that's important to meet not only with parents, but with students, and get the input from all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexia. Thank you, Shelley. Your final community member tonight, Shelley, Steph Agar. She's a teacher at Karis Elementary for 16 years and the president of the Canby Education Association. Hi, Steph. Welcome back. Almost done.
All right, in closing, why do you believe Canby School District voters should choose you? Please also feel free to use this time to share any final thoughts about topics that have been discussed tonight.
Thank you, Steph. So I'm fighting for kids to go back to school. I think it's important that we get them all back to school, whether you feel comfortable with in the classroom or if you do online. But I think it is important that we try and get our kids back to the education that they deserve. I can be a fresh voice. I feel like I've had the experience of being in the school and seeing how teachers need supported and how principals need supported. And I think that is a unique opportunity for me to listen not only to parents, but to listen to teachers and see how we can support them. I want to be that voice for everyone. I want people to feel comfortable coming to me and saying, this is what I see going on, and maybe this is what we can do to help. So I hope to be that calm, relaxing voice of people. I'm proud of Canby schools, and I want our community to be proud of them. And we need to fight for our kids. Our kids are going to be the leaders of this community someday. And as a mom, I just want the best education for not only my own kids, but the kids of the community. So I appreciate you putting this together. I appreciate you asking all of our opinions, and I hope to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
So that actually concludes tonight's forum and I'm sorry. Actually, yes. Thank you for reminding me. I have one more question for you, Shelley, and that is to offer our viewers and voters a way to reach out to you if they have other questions about things that weren't addressed tonight or things that they'd like to follow up on.
Perfect. I do have a email address. It's shelleyvissers@gmail.com. And then I do also have a Facebook page, but I am not a big Facebooker, so I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. But either way, you can contact me.
Awesome. Go with the email. Facebook is the last resort, right? Sorry about that.
No.
So that concludes tonight's forum and our series. I want to call attention to the tremendous work of the local organizations who made this event possible: the Canby Education Association, the Canby Area Chamber of Commerce, Bridging Cultures Canby, the Canby Current and CanbyFirst.com, and Canby CTV Channel 5, who are hosting us tonight and have done such a great job throughout this series. A huge shout out and thank you to all of our community members for engaging in this process across all 3 nights and making this such a great community event. And again, our deep and sincere thanks to all of the candidates for participating. We appreciate that every single one of these candidates has the desire to serve our district and help make difficult decisions they feel would be in the best interest of students and families. And finally, thanks to all of you, our viewers, for taking the time from your busy schedules to engage in this important process and be an informed voter. We encourage you to reach out to these candidates if you have any other questions, and obviously we urge you to vote. Ballots are on their way to mailboxes across the state as of today. The last day to safely return your ballot by mail is May 11th. Otherwise, please drop your ballot off in one of the secure drop sites by 8 p.m. on Election Day, which is May 18th. You can find drop boxes in Canby at the Canby Public Library and Civic Center or at Arneson Garden behind Fred Meyer. For a map of all official ballot drop sites in Clackamas County, visit clackamas.us/elections. Finally, if you missed any of this or any of the other forums, you can get caught up by visiting the Canby Current's Facebook page. Spanish language versions are also available on the Facebook page of Bridging Cultures Canby. Thank you, Canby, and have a great night.